Hey, J-Bo Nation! Shaming of Jay. He's not a dopey dumb bitch. He gets laid. The court jester. The court DJ. It's time to dive into the case. To the case.
What is up, everybody? Thanks for being here. Good afternoon for some. It's 12 o'clock for me. It's 10 a.m. for them. Let's get ready to hear the defense's case. Who do we got here? Afy's on the kick machine. Blair, Mike, Tracy K, KTG on YouTube. Afy's also on there. Tina, Groot, Donna White, Kelly Bowbelly, Donna, Cam Miller, Joanne, Lamom, James, Jesse, Sandy, Tony, Amy, Albers, Amy in New Jersey, Amy P, Intolerant is here, Defense Attorney Meow, Harley Girl, Lakota, Cassandra, Jay is here, did I say Defense Attorney Meow? Karen's here, B Rabbit, Mike says 14, way to go, 14K, thank you. It went under 14K yesterday, and I was like, oh, geez, I should probably wait before I announce stuff, but we're back there. Jessica's here. Michelle is here. Serena's here. Linny is here. Jersey Jen. We got two. Oh, no. No, never mind. Jersey. We got two people in Jersey. Drew, Cam, Amber, Margaret, Haley, Cindy, Donnie, Lisa, Brooklyn. Thanks for being here, everybody. Next chapter, Catherine, Southern Charmed, Mish, Jennifer J, Bonnie Bailey, Fofa. I posted it in the chat, folks. Scott Kohler is here. What's up, Scott, Sam, and Unknown. Per Law and Crime, off the camera today, the judge denied the defense's objection, and language stands in the jury instruction. The state does not have to prove Hannah brought live rounds on the set. She loaded the gun. They don't have to prove it was her. So good luck with that, defense. All right, so let's just make sure we're not missing anything. Squadushel. There we go. Guys, guess what? I have a new thing that I made. If you saw it in my premiere, because if people don't know, one of my biggest fears is that I'm going to get a strike, copyright. I'm scared of that. Don't want that to happen. So sometimes logos come up on the screen. So let's check out what I made for when that happens. In case you were wondering why this was in the premiere video. Squadushel, look at that. Look at that thing I made. I mean, it's not like a professional, but it works nonetheless. So there we go. What's up, Ann? Jonathan Borden, KJ, Robert's here, Mia's here. Yeah, don't forget to put on live chat. KJ, Sarah, Lamom, James. JBN is as addictive as carcinogenic Japanese coffee. Lynn is here. City Sue is here. Anita Daniels here. Shaky Lou, Helen Steiner. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thank you. I hope you guys check out the premiere. I woke up at 5 this morning because after that test, I did a premiere. If you missed it, and it was probably, in retrospect, probably not a good idea to do a premiere about this trial right before this trial begins because everyone's in here, so no one's going to see it. Nonetheless, I did a premiere about the cocaine testimony yesterday. And I had my favorite part of editing is putting in references that I love to like. I had a Saturday Night Live reference in there, a Breaking Bad reference in there, Elf reference in there, and that's why I just love. That's one of the things I love to do is edit and add that stuff. Thank you, KTG. It was maybe my favorite video I've made to date. And I made the thumbnail too, if you could believe that. I used an app which put Hannah's face on Tony Montana. So if you see it when the thumbnails are like simple and not awesome and like detailed, those are mine. Shannon's are like the Adelson one, very detailed, much better. Mine's very simple. Thank you, B Rabbit. All right, so we're just waiting here. Let me make sure I have this on live. I do. Oh, guess what, guys? My thing is working again. Here we go. Squadushal. We got up there the amount of subscribers we have, although it only goes by hundreds, but nonetheless. Thank you, Fofa. If Tana testifies, will she bring up me? I sure hope so. I hope she tells everyone to subscribe. The chat's not working, so that's a little... because Botrix hasn't woken up yet. Wake up, Botrix. It may not. Sometimes when I do 2 things in a day, Botrix doesn't work. Thanks, Steve. What's up, Rachel? What's up, Rabbit? I am a simple man, Donna. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Lily. What's up, Debbie? Thanks for being here, everybody. 14K, folks. 14K. On our way to 15K. 15K is a big one. Big one. And then and not if may do you guys we could hey Betty, we could possibly I mean it would be pushing it, but possibly hit 15K by the 1-year anniversary of when I started streaming, which I believe was March 29th. Whatever the first day of the Gwyneth Paltrow trial is my 1-year anniversary of streaming. If we could get 15K in 1 year, that would be exciting. What's up, Janine? What's up, Brooklyn, Morgan, Rachel K, Betty? Thanks for being here, everybody. Sky Troop. Veronica's here. Let's do this. Chloe and Sally. Krista Miller, thank you so much. Christy Miller, thank you so much. Hey, Karen. 1 year, folks. Can you believe that it's been 1 year? Now, if only this chat would freaking come on the screen, that would be happening. Cecilia, what's up? Cecilia. All right. So only Kick is showing up because the bot's not working. Can we watch your first stream? I mean, it's like an 8-hour-long stream of the Gwyneth Paltrow trial. I got to find it, but maybe I can cut it down into some clips or something. All right, we're just waking. Again, if you are coming in late, per law and crime, off camera today, a judge denied the defense's objection, and the language stands in the jury instruction that the state does not have to prove Hannah brought live rounds on the set. She loaded the gun. Repeat, the state does not have to prove Hannah brought live rounds on the set as she loaded the gun. Deja Vu gifting out a membership to Shaky Lou. Thank you so much, Deja. Capri Suns in the chat. And now Mia's given one to Lakota. Capri Suns in the chat. Thank you so much, Deja. You rock. And thank you so much, Mia. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Capri Suns out there. Welcome to the new members. And we are just waiting, folks. We are just waiting. Oh, man. We had... watching that trial was... I'm just a simple country lawyer. Uh-oh. Time for my lower thirds. We actually have in our merch store just a simple country lawyer mugs. What's up, Shy Girl from California? I'm just that guy was the worst. Just a simple country lawyer. Explain it to me. And then the finale of Terry's Facebook on the fucking camel. Is that you on a camel?
Terry.
All right, folks, just waiting to start here. No, we don't have a P.O. box anymore. We do not have a P.O. box anymore. So many characters is right, Amy. Hey, Margaret. What's up, Gus? What's up, Drew? I hope you guys liked our. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Drew. I had a premiere, Shannon had a premiere, and Steve had a premiere. Please make sure to check out Shannon's and Steve's. They put a lot of work into that. And I think Steve's Idaho 4 series is so good, and Babe's Psych breakdowns are so good, so please check them out. Good morning, Dom's mom. What's up, Linda? Yes, we have a coffee mug too with the sketch. That's right. Remember that? Thank you, Amy. And I agree, Sarah. I do not like how they ended their case either. What a terrible witness to end it on. Just because they paid that guy $10K, we didn't need him to show us pictures that were really not less blurry than they originally were. That was ridiculous. Freaking only... Wake up, Botrix. Where are you? I believe he is, Margaret. I believe her dad is supposed to testify for the defense. I could be wrong. Cam Miller, I no longer have a P.O. box, so sorry. Oh, was it March 21st? Wow. March 21st. That's sooner than I thought. One year. Yeah, exactly. Now it doesn't matter, Susan A. Now it doesn't matter. Funny you asked that, Jade. Jade asks, whatever happened to the body parts in my neighborhood? So that was in the town about 20 minutes from us in Babylon. And me and Sean were just watching the news this morning, and they're like, what did they say? It was an isolated incident. The county rep is like, this is an isolated incident. And we're like, they found body parts of two different people. You're telling me this is an isolated incident? So we don't know what's going on there. First salary for a Roth IRA. You're not kidding. For a Roth IRA, we need a fundraiser just for me to keep doing this. Oh, look, there's the clock from 6th grade. The clock from 6th grade. Yeah, I think Joe Jackalone thinks it's gangs too, if I remember correctly. I think that's what he said in his video. Wouldn't be surprised. What's up, Kim? Hello, Spring. Thanks for being here, everybody. Hit that like button on the way in. You know, Gus, I was thinking that I said to Shannon, we got to go to where the park where they were found, give people an idea of what it looks like over there. So. Do you guys? I mean, who's old enough? I don't know. I assume they still have clocks in classrooms, but do you remember when you used to be in school or like high school, and you would just look at the second hand to see when it hit when the clock would change, and then you could leave for the next class or to leave for the day? Yes, don't forget to change from top chat to live chat. What's up, Cabo? All right, guys, I don't know what the deal is, but they're supposed to be here shortly, hopefully. Botrix hasn't woken up, so that's why there's no chat on the screen. That's kind of annoying. Anita Daniel, welcome to the Bows. Thank you so much, Anita. Capri Sun's in the chat. I'm gonna have to do I don't have Botrix isn't working, so I'm gonna have to do this.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you so much, Anita. Welcome. Enjoy your new emojis. Lamam James just subscribed to Mindful Crime Couture. Thank you so much, Lamam James. One of my favorite names, Lamam James. That's great. Good afternoon, Jill. If you're coming in late, folks, we are just waiting here. Westbury, nice. I used to work in Woodbury, Rabbit. I used to work in Woodbury. Geico, Woodbury. Used to work there. 750 Woodbury Road. I don't even know if their office is still there, to be honest. WWG. Good morning, Tree. What's up, Amber? They made arrests in the body parts case. Well, that's good. Oh, why Wendy's going down? Oh, the point I was trying to make is that the last video that the point I was trying to make was she did it twice. Not only are all the Adelsons, including Wendy, texting and calling, the 18-minute call, 18 minutes and 17 seconds call on the day Dan Markel is shot and killed, but she's also texting the first trip. The hitman went down 2 times, and Wendy was calling and texting with her family both times, and you're telling me she wasn't involved? That was the point I was making. Like, I don't think it's going to be hard for a jury to put 2 and 2 together there. Margaret Williams, welcome to the Bows. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, man.
And the 2 times just so happened to be the 2 times Jeff was supposed to leave, and she made Jeff cancel his this trip that they were supposed to meet his parents. What's up, Nora? What's up, guys? I don't know what's going on. You're welcome, Jen. She will say that, and when she says that, both her family will be convicted, in my opinion. Charlie Arley is. I did not have UCC, and I'm tired because I woke up at 5 a.m. thinking about that video I made today. So I might have to have one. Can we start on time? What are we doing? I mean, we could watch my premiere if you want to watch my premiere. Did everyone see my premiere? I don't know what to do to kill time. I'm always trying to think. I did fan mail yesterday. Yes, hit that like button, please. I don't know any. The chat's not working on the screen, unfortunately. The bot's not woken up, so that's why it's not on the screen. All right. While we wait, let me just make sure this is on. If you saw it already, sorry. Here's the premiere. It's about 7 minutes.
And state your full name for the record.
Rebecca Smith.
And Ms. Smith, in October of 2021, how were you employed?
I was employed as key craft service.
Whoa, $20 from Deanna, Jersey love. Thank you so much. We have a lot of folks from Jersey. Thank you so much, Deanna. That's so kind. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, man.
Let's see if my old thank you works.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Services?
Was that on the set of Rust?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury what Key Craft Services does?
Key craft services is basically a set mom. I show up and make sure that coffee is ready for everybody, that everybody has snacks and hydration. If they run out of sunscreen, if they run out of chapstick, they come to me.
Ms. Smith, were you present at the hotel the evening of October 21st, 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point that evening, did you go to Ms. Gutierrez's hotel room?
Yes.
And why did you do that?
Court and...
If you're coming in late, we're just waiting there. They haven't started yet. I will go live once they go live.
And I forget what his name was, but the set steward were in her hotel room and needed to go to the store to get something and did not want to leave her alone, so they called me and asked me to come up to her room.
Okay, and did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you stay with Ms. Gutierrez for a little while?
Yes, ma'am.
And then at some point, did you leave?
Yes.
Did anything unusual happen when you left Ms. Gutierrez's room?
Yes. She asked me if I could hold on to something for her. I said yes. She put it in my hand, and I walked out as there was a knock on the door.
And after you left the room, did you look to see what she had placed in your hand?
Yes.
And can you describe, without making any assumptions about what it was, can you just describe what you saw in your hand?
Yes. It was a clear Ziploc baggie with a green small Ziploc baggie inside, and there was powder inside the green baggie.
Guys, I tried a bunch of
What
times.
color
Wait,
was the...
I'm going to go back to that. I tried a bunch of time on Canva. Canva has AI. Well, Canva has AI, and I kept trying to make something where that looked like what she described, and man, it did not do a good job. Where did I go?
Usual happen when...
Hold on to something for her. I said yes. She put it in my hand, and I walked out as there was a knock on the door.
And after you left the room, did you look to see what she had placed in your hand?
Yes.
And can you describe, without making any assumptions about what it was, can you just describe what you saw in your hand?
Yes. It was a clear Ziploc baggie with a green small Ziploc baggie inside, and there was powder inside the green baggie.
So there you go. That's AI, and this will, if you didn't see the premiere before, this will come up later in the premiere. So it doesn't even spell Ziploc right. Like, this is AI creating what I... All right, so here we go.
What color was the powder?
White.
If I want you to compare this to like a sugar packet that you
It
would...
was definitely not sugar.
No, I'm sorry. Let me get my...
look like sugar.
Let me get my question out.
Okay.
I want to have a discussion about how much was in the green
Okay.
part. And I want you to compare it to a sugar packet that you would open and put in coffee or tea.
Okay.
How many of those do you think it was?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Okay. And Ms. Smith, how old are you?
I'm 51.
I'm 50 years old.
And when you were a younger person...
So now you guys could take a little look inside my brain. That's when she said that yesterday, that was what I was thinking.
Did you have an opportunity to use the drug cocaine?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a recovering addict.
Are you familiar with what cocaine looks like?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with the way that cocaine is packaged?
Yes, ma'am.
Based on that experience, what did you believe to be in the bag?
I believed it to be cocaine.
And what did you do with it?
I threw it in the hallway trash can before even going downstairs to my hotel room.
And why did you throw it in the hallway trash can?
Because, like...
Absolutely. What a shit move to give your there's a police, there's going to be a police investigation. There is a police investigation. And you give your cocaine to this lady who's not even your friend. She's like, she was an acquaintance. Like, what a shitty thing to do. Great point, Jen.
Like I said, I am a recovering addict. I can't, first and foremost, have it in my possession. And second, I was really very offended, and I didn't want anything to do with the situation anymore.
Okay. After...
And I'm going to pause
After
this.
October 21st,
because Dizzy gave me the text messages.
Passes. Did you receive any text message communications from Ms. Gutierrez?
Yes. Several.
And generally speaking, what was the theme of those messages?
I want my stuff back.
So I'm going to pause this. Here's something during editing afterwards that I realized I should have made this longer. These are the texts. 10:23, Miss Gutierrez to Becca. Hey, I might be coming to Albuquerque tonight and was wondering if I can get that stuff. That's at 12:28. 5:09, Becca, call me when you get a chance. 6:20, Becca hasn't, so Miss Gutierrez to her friend, Becca hasn't texted me back at all, and I'm trying to get my things from her. And she testifies the only thing she had was the cocaine, which she threw out. 11:31 a.m. the next day, Becca, question mark? Now, like 2 weeks later or a week later, hey, coming to Albuquerque tomorrow. Going to be there for a week or so. I wanted to see you. And then Miss Gutierrez to her friend, could Becca drop my things to y'all since I haven't been able to reach her? And then Miss Gutierrez to Becca, Becca. Hey, Becca, mind if my brother-in-law picks up my things from you after Thanksgiving? He lives in Albuquerque. Make sure to check out Dizzy and Tracy's Discord where all those documents are, making sure we're not missing anything. All right, let's continue.
Other than the bag containing the green bag containing the white powder, other than that item, did you have anything else that belonged to Ms. Gutierrez?
No, ma'am.
Did you bring this information to the attention of law enforcement?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Like I said, I didn't want to be involved in the situation if I didn't have to be.
Now, your testimony is that the last time you used cocaine was approximately 20 years old. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So that would have been, I think, 31 years ago?
Yes.
And since then, thankfully, you've been clean. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you have not seen that substance in 31 years. That's fair to say?
No, that's not fair to say.
Okay.
I have seen it, just not used it.
Okay. Now, you stated on direct examination that you believed it to be cocaine.
Yes.
And do you recall stating at one point that you said it could be cocaine or meth?
I don't recall saying that, no.
Okay, do you recall at your pretrial interview being asked the question, what was in those baggies? Inside the green, well, inside the snack baggie was the green baggie. Inside the green baggie was a white powdery substance. which I knew to be cocaine, or I mean, it could have been meth or something too.
It could have,
Okay.
but I don't believe that it was, nor did I state that I believed it was. I just said that it could be.
And that was my question. I'm just asking if you said it could have been meth too.
Correct.
This is pure glass. You're a goddamn artist.
So, in reality,
I love that I
it
got to
could have
use that
been
in a video.
a number of other white powders. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Do you know what creatine looks like?
No.
Protein powder?
Yes, because I work in craft services.
Okay. And we could go through a whole list of items, but there's a lot of white powder sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I
All
think
right,
I have
guys, I'm gonna give you
Yes.
a little behind the scenes. I mean, obviously this doesn't look great, but my program has a tracking feature where you can put a picture on it and then put it like in a location and it tracks where it goes. So it kind of tracks where his syrup bottle goes. Not great, obviously. Hopefully I can learn that better, but
A whole list of items, but there's a lot of white powder sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think I have something. Yes.
You like?
Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. So the reality is you have a belief, but you don't know for certain what was in that bag, do you?
Correct.
Now, that was never tested,
No.
and that was never provided to law enforcement.
No.
Ms. Smith, have you ever seen powdered sugar packaged like that?
Never.
Have you ever seen regular sugar packaged like that?
Never.
Have you seen cocaine packaged like that?
Yes.
and I got to use a curb sound effect, so I'm very happy with that. If you get a chance, if you haven't commented on that or like on it later in the day, I know we're watching this now, greatly appreciated. Stupid Botrix hasn't woken up yet, and I don't know what's going on in court. If you're coming in late, they have not started yet. Thank you, thank you. By the way, again, I'm going to read the pinned comment in case you're coming in late. Off camera today. The judge denied the defense's objection, and the language stands in the jury instruction that the state does not have to prove Hannah brought the live rounds on the set. She loaded the gun. So all that shit that was about the rounds yesterday means nothing. The state does not have to prove Hannah brought the live rounds on the set because she loaded the gun. So there you go. Agree. I guess I could put this comments down here because the stupid bot isn't working. Botrix, I hate you sometimes, and today is one of those days. I think it's because I set up that Premiere and it screws up the bots. I don't know. Lesson learned. Well, Stream Elements is working. I don't know why Botrix isn't. Yeah, imagine I was right the whole time. Thanks for being here, everybody. If you haven't hit that like button, please hit the like button. And now we just wait. Did everyone see my new lower third that I made? Look at this thing. Squadouchal. That's Canva. That's the Canva. Lisa says, what I love about you, Jay, in this channel is that you're just doing the damn thing. You started almost a year ago, and you're still learning and growing, but you're doing it. Thank you, Lisa. I'm learning every day. Like today, I learned don't delete a lot of stuff because you want your computer to run, because I feel like the stream was like going slow yesterday. So I deleted a bunch of stuff, and on accident, even though I have a zip drive, I think it might be on my shared my external hard drive, but I deleted some of the clips from that video I just made, and now I can't make shorter clips for like Instagram. So learn that. Jessica, you didn't miss anything because they haven't started yet, because I don't know why. Wish we had we had some reliable journalists during the Troconis case. We do not have, at least that I'm aware of, reliable journalists that are tweeting what the hell's going on. Thank you for liking March Ma 65. Thanks for being here, Dave Zoom. David Lee Roth. I used to have a drug problem, but now I can afford it. David Lee Roth. Oh, here we go, folks. And we're look at that. Here we go. David Lee Roth lights. This guy's back, and he looks like he has the same shirt on. This lady's back. This guy's back.
All right.
Thanks, Morgan.
You may be seated. The state has rested. Defense.
Your Honor, the defense calls Lorenzo Montoya.
Lorenzo Montoya, you killed my father. Now prepare to die. Lorenzo Montoya.
Face the judge, raise your right hand.
It's not on. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Talk into the microphone.
Good morning, Mr. Montoya. Can you please explain to the jury how you are employed?
Morning. My name is Lorenzo Montoya, and I am a compliance officer with New Mexico OSHA.
Oh, boy.
And what do you do as a compliance officer?
I'm a safety inspector. Accident investigator, in summary.
And what do you need to do to become a safety inspector, accident investigator with OSHA?
Well, you'll require some experience in the field of safety, workplace safety, industrial safety, chemical safety. Accident investigation requires some training, and that can be accomplished on the job.
What is OSHA?
This guy is not adding anything. Do you remember what's his name? That guy who was pissing me off so much yesterday, Seth Kinney, who just talked on it. This guy will add nothing to his statement. He is giving you the bare bones.
Stand for
Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
And what is that a state agency?
New Mexico OSHA is a state plan, whereas federal OSHA is at the federal level nationwide.
Is the Bureau part of the New Mexico Environment Department?
Yes.
So tell us about your experience then in workplace safety.
Sure. My experience with occupational safety began in the U.S. Air Force as an aircraft mechanic. I was in charge of our hazardous materials program. And following that, I worked for the New Mexico Department of Health at the Behavioral Health Institute, performing more sort of safety and walkthroughs for our patient health in that scenario.
And how long have you been a safety inspector with OSHA?
Been with OSHA for 5 years.
How did you get involved in the incident we're here for today in this case?
OSHA, one of its duties is to inspect workplace accidents.
Yay, Dom's mom gifting a membership. Who's going to get it? Morgan M. Thank you so much, Dom's mom. You are the best. Thank you so much.
incidents, or anything that results in a fatality. In this scenario, we were notified of a workplace fatality, and so I was assigned the inspection.
And when you're assigned an inspection that's reported to you, what is the purpose of your investigation?
It's a fact-finding investigation. Our goal is to try to identify what may have caused the incident, so we can either recommend or require corrective measures to prevent such a thing from happening again.
And did you do an investigation of the workplace safety incident that occurred on the set of Rust on October 21st of 2021?
Correct, yes.
What does that mean? What does your investigation entail?
So the investigation is to, if possible, find a root cause for whatever may have led up to the incident. Sometimes things are not so simple, and they have a lot of complicated factors that contribute them to occurring. In this scenario, the investigation is to try to identify what led to the accident occurring, despite whatever measures may have been put in place to mitigate or prevent in the first place.
And how do you do that? What did you do in this investigation?
The same as any. When we conduct investigations, we interview witnesses. We interview members of management. We might engage with industry professionals if necessary. Visit the site, take photos.
Did you do all those things?
Yes, again, if you're coming in late, the judge ruled the state does not have to prove Hannah brought the live rounds on set. She loaded the gun. The defense made a motion, and the judge denied it. The state does not have to prove Hannah brought the rounds on the set because she loaded the gun.
In this case?
Yes.
When was it that you visited the site?
We originally visited, I believe, the following day, October 22nd, was when we were notified.
Did you communicate with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department as well?
Only in the beginning, when we were trying to ensure that we would be able to access the site without potentially stepping into a crime scene.
Which witnesses do you remember interviewing in this case?
That day, the only individual present on site was Catherine Rowe Walters.
Okay. And in the course of your investigation, how many witnesses did you interview in this case?
I could only estimate, off the top of my head. I believe we interviewed 17 people.
Okay. Did you interview Ms. Gutierrez?
We did, yes.
Did you interview Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Did you interview Mr. Baldwin?
Yes.
Did you interview Sarah Zachary?
Yes.
Gabrielle Pickle?
Yes. No, wait, not Gabrielle Pickle. Sorry.
Did you review any documents in this case that aided in your investigation?
Yes, we reviewed many documents.
Is your investigation, how is it that you gather documents that you review?
Generally, we request any safety policies, programs, or trainings from the employer.
And what specific documents did you review in this case?
In this case, we had requested any safety policies that they may have, and they provided us with, they're referred to as safety bulletins, and they have a longer title, which I can't recall the name of. They're organized by a committee of some kind. But safety bulletin number 1 is the applicable safety bulletin for firearm safety.
Okay, and what other documents did you review?
They gave us a host of other of the safety bulletins, which cover various miscellanea you encounter on a set, from lighting to electricity and so forth.
What about communications between the various witnesses and cast and crew on set? Did you review any of those things?
We did receive some of those documents, but those did not come from our employer. They came from our individuals that we interviewed.
So the individuals you interviewed, the witnesses, provided you with emails and texts?
Some, yes.
And were you able to come to any findings and conclusions in this case?
We did. come to a conclusion.
And were those findings, did you put those findings in a written report?
We did.
Once you do that written report, what's the process there?
We draft the report, proofread it, and when it's completed, we assemble the case file together, and if necessary, we issue citations. And in this scenario, we did issue a citation.
Who did you issue the citation to in this case?
Rust Movie Productions, LLC.
Once you issue, what was the citation that you issued for? Why did you issue a citation?
The citation was issued because, in our conclusions, we determined that the management team was responsible for a series of failures that, in our opinion, accumulated in an accident.
Okay, and by management team, who do you mean specifically?
Specifically, we mean the chain of command above Hannah Gutierrez, beginning at the lowest level with Sarah Zachary, and then Gabrielle Pickle, and then Dave Halls.
So did your findings then include any... So then your findings that you just spoke of, those didn't include...
Bro, this lady needs to work on her questioning. She failed the questioning class in law school.
...include Ms. Gutierrez, right?
As an employee directly engaged in the work, she is mentioned in the report frequently. But in terms of who do we identify as a member of management, and thus who do we consider responsible, she's not. She's just an employee.
Okay. And once you do your report and issue the citation, does the employer, the production company, get an opportunity to contest that?
They do.
And did they contest that in this case?
They did.
Was a fine ever ultimately levied against the employer in this case?
There was, yes.
What was that fine?
They came to a settlement agreement with the department at $100,000 even.
And in your experience, have you seen the state of New Mexico levy such a high fine like that to an employer for workplace safety ever?
I believe we have in the past.
Is that an average? Is that a usual fine amount that you see?
For typical inspections, no.
Is it higher or lower?
This would be higher than normal.
And your report that you write, once you're completed it, are there any other individuals who review and audit your work?
There are.
Who explain to the jury the levels of review and audit of your findings and conclusions in your report?
Right. So the proofreading, final edits, and that sort of thing fall to first initially my supervisor, and then her supervisor, who is our program manager, and then from him it would pass up to our bureau chief, Bob Genoway, and as well as our legal team, and potentially our department director, all the way up to the secretary if it's potentially something that is a matter of public interest.
And in fact, in this case, did the secretary for the Environment Department review and audit your report and your findings?
He reviewed the report. By the time it got to him, there was nothing left then just to review it.
Okay. And does your report and your citations, are those a matter of public record?
They are.
And is your report kept in the New Mexico OSHA Environment Department?
Yes.
Did you bring a copy? I saw you walk up to the stand today with a folder. Did you bring a copy of your report today?
I have a copy of our investigative summary. Sometimes we refer to that as a narrative.
Okay, and is that the document that you prepared that we've been discussing this morning? That's 11 pages?
It is 11 pages, yes, so possibly.
Okay, and it's this document that you make your findings and conclusions, right?
Yes, we list them out.
Your Honor, I'm going to hand the witness what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit GG. May I approach?
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
We have an approach all.
Choose your fighter.
Ah, I hit the wrong one. Although I should use that one more often. And we're back to live, folks. We are back to live. By the way, Steve, remember I was telling Steve my whole Stream Deck reset, but it's back to normal. Thank Larry.
Are you sure?
I think so, Vinny. I think it's back to normal. Although the bot's not working, and that's pissing me off. Thanks for being here, everybody. We got over 300 people in the chat. Amazing. Appreciate everyone being here. If you haven't hit that like button, that would be greatly appreciated. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Bring them on down. We're on our way to 15K, folks. On our way to 15K. Thank you, Shannon. Steve, what's the plan for tonight, Steve-O? Oh man, that's one of my favorite episodes. The Merv Griffin set was one of my favorite episodes. Just Kick tonight, folks. So if you're not on Kick, get on Kick. And sometimes folks wonder what I'm talking about, what Kick is. I'm on it right now, streaming. It's kick.com, kick.com. It's, it's basically YouTube's new, younger competitor that does not give a shit about copyright, essentially. You can play anything on there. Almost anything. There you go. Steve just shared his link if you're on the Kick machine. Hello, Marchma65. Hello, Patricia. Again, if you are coming in late, maybe I should stop repeating myself, but the state does not have to prove. There was a defense objection yesterday, and the judge determined the state does not have to prove Hannah Gutierrez brought the live ammunition on the set. They don't have to prove that. She loaded the gun. So she should have checked that shit. Yes, you can swear over there, KTG. Absolutely. What's up, Carrie Louise? I mean, Lamam James says, Paul, Bob Barker, or Drew Carey. I like Drew Carey, but the answer's got to be Bob Barker. No corn on the Kick machine. That's true. That's true, Caleb. This is a pretty long sidebar. My question is, the state doesn't want the report to get in because they don't have, so they just have a narrative. This guy just brought his narrative, and typically, maybe I'm wrong, but typically, if they want to get the report in, if they want to get the narrative in, they have to have the full report. From my experience, I used to deal with biomechanical expert, bunch of different experts that I would have to, I was the one who was paying for these experts. I was the one coordinating them coming down to court, etc. And if the expert just brought down their narrative, a lot of times the attorneys would be like, well, where's the notes? Where's the report that led to this narrative? They can't show the narrative. We don't have the report. I don't know if that's what's going on. Pure speculation. What do I know? Good morning, Renee S. Thanks for being here. Hey, JD. Good to see you. Donnie. What's up, Donnie? What's up, am entranced. No, we don't scold you for swearing. We encourage it. How could I tell someone not to curse? I certainly can't. Yes, Pam, we did. Thank you for being here, Pam. Good to see you. Yes, don't be a jabroni. Change from top chat to live chat. You might be missing some of the chat. All right, I think we're back. Oh, look at that. Dom's mom on the kick machine. Nice.
So, and if you need a refresher memory from looking at your report, I wanted to go through. So did your report include factual findings from your investigation?
Yes, it does.
Did it also include conclusions that you reached from that investigation?
Yes.
And did you conclude whether, with respect to Hannah Gutierrez, whether she was or was, I guess, did you conclude that Hannah was not provided with enough time to inventory and inspect the dummy blink rounds?
Objection.
Approach.
Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me. So I think it's clear after the first sidebar that they're not allowed to get the report in because she stopped asking about it. Interesting that this dude is this dude's handling the objections, not Morrissey. Judge Mom is big mad. Sorry guys, if you're coming in late, stupid Botrix isn't waking up. We have no chat on the screen.
So like I stated, Mr. Montoya, in your report, did you...
Look at that. Miss Wildside gifting a sub to Dom's mom on the kick machine. Thank you so much, Christine.
You conclude whether Hannah was provided with enough time to inventory and inspect dummy rounds and blinks?
That was one of our conclusions, yes.
Okay. What specifically did you conclude about that?
May I look at the folder?
Would it refresh your recollection to review your report?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Do you have it in front of you, or do you want me to hand you a copy?
I do have a copy in front of me, unless yours is highlighted or marked.
Page 7.
This guy seems like he might not be very fun at parties.
Okay.
Then again, I'm not either.
So what were your conclusions with respect to whether Ms. Gutierrez was provided enough time to inventory and inspect the dummy rounds from her employer?
We came to the conclusion that she was not afforded time to conduct her duties to the best of her diligence.
And who didn't give her enough time to do that?
She had been instructed by Gabrielle Pickle to focus on other tasks.
And did you determine whether Rust had any process to ensure that live rounds were not brought onto set?
We determined that Rust did not have any specific processes or procedures to prevent that possibility.
And why was it that was on the employer, in your opinion, versus the armor?
In that manner, the employer is asking an individual to perform multiple safety-related functions for them, while also telling them that they're spending too much time engaging in those safety-related functions and need to devote more time to other duties. And on that matter, we determined that to be maybe a managerial decision.
Okay. And did you conclude whether Rust Management provided the armor, Ms. Gutierrez, with any authority on training?
We concluded that she effectively had no authority to make any sort of training decisions.
And in your investigation, was that failure to give the armor authority to determine training, was that a violation of any Rust safety procedures?
It was.
What was that a violation of?
Safety bulletin number 1. One of the required items is that the armor determines when training is necessary and if retraining is necessary based on somebody maybe mishandling a firearm.
Okay, and what evidence, did you see any evidence in your investigation about the armor, Ms. Gutierrez, attempting to attain additional training on firearms for the actors?
Not specifically attempting to retrain, to acquire more time for training, into my memory.
Okay, and was that did the employer, I guess, did Ms. Gutierrez raise any concerns about not being provided adequate time to perform her armor duties?
Yes.
And what in your investigation was Rust's response to that?
Our conclusion was that those statements regarding not having enough time went unheeded and uncommented on.
By whom?
Gabrielle Pickle and possibly Sarah Zachary or Dave Halls.
Sarah Zachary and Dave Halls?
Yes.
Did you make any conclusions in your findings in your report about who the Rust safety official was on set?
We did.
Who was that?
Dave Halls.
And did you find any fault with anything that Dave Halls did?
So OSHA considers the entire management apparatus to be a single entity. And in this scenario, there are these 3 individuals who are part of this upper level of management. And Dave Hall's responsibility as the safety coordinator on set, we certainly found that there were a number of safety bulletin number 1 policies that were not followed or adhered to that would fall within his purview.
Okay. And were any of those pertaining to having the actors point guns at crew members?
That is one of the items in the safety bulletin.
And are you saying that Mr. Halls and Rust top level management were in violation of that?
Rust's management team did not take measures that were required in safety bulletin number 1 to permit the aiming of a firearm at a camera or whatever the case may be.
Okay. And you talked a little bit about Rust not providing Ms. Gutierrez with sufficient time to thoroughly inventory ammunition. And by ammunition, I mean blanks and dummies. Were there any findings with respect to Rust providing their staff sufficient time to inspect this ammunition to ensure there were no live rounds present?
No, our conclusion was they weren't afforded time. I'm sorry.
And with respect to whether or not Rust production showed an indifference to hazards associated with firearms, what was your opinion on that?
The conclusion of the Bureau on that was based on the sheer number of requirements listed in Safety Bulletin number 1 that were either ignored or otherwise not at all followed or totally contrary in practice to. We found that Rust was willful. They were plain indifferent to the recognized hazards of firearms.
Okay. And when you're doing this, does OSHA have a requirement to look at fault of specific employees?
As part of our inspection process, we try to identify a root cause if we can. Whether an accident is caused because someone is falling asleep at the wheel or whatever the case might be, we do try to identify those things. In this scenario, we weren't necessarily able to identify any particular standout reason why an employee would be to blame.
So what was, in total bottom line here, the root cause that you found?
To summarize the entire report would be that Rust Movie Productions identified a hazard, a workplace hazard, working with firearms, and they...
Yeah, Gus, I agree that Cross is going to be difficult for him because direct is difficult for him. How are these two? This is like pulling teeth.
Adopted firearm safety policies, but they totally failed to enforce them, train their employees on them, practice them, reference them, nothing. They adopted it and it stopped at the word adoption. Nothing further happened.
Okay. And was it brought to their attention by Ms. Gutierrez and others that there were these deficiencies?
Safety concerns were raised regarding the policies listed in Safety Bulletin number 1 not being followed.
And what was Rust's response to those concerns that were raised by Ms. Gutierrez?
Again, they seem to have chosen to simply not respond.
Hannah talks to them so much. I would tell her to shut up. Does she, I mean, I guess she has... I don't know, man. She is always talking to them. It's gotta... What's up, Viv? Good to see Viv. If you're not following Viv on YouTube, you should be. Viv is an amazing artist who does tutorials and has awesome videos. Please check out Viv.
I'll pass the witness.
Pass the witness. All right, here we go.
Cross-exam.
Prosecutor, look at her. She is done. She is tired. Oh, she's smiling at the jury. Okay.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit before I get into any of the details, a little bit more about the inspection process that you typically conduct. How long do you have to perform this inspection?
OSHA has a limit of 6 months to the day to initiate and conclude an inspection.
All right. So does that mean that in some instances you may not have all of the evidence that is available from, for example, an investigating law enforcement agency?
Correct.
And in this case, is it true that you did not have the sheriff's report at the time that you issued your report?
Yes, the sheriff's report was the following day or two, I believe.
All right. So just to be clear, none of the information that was included in the sheriff's investigative report made its way into your report and findings, correct?
Correct. Only their initial public release, press release.
The press release?
Only that.
Okay. But not any of the actual investigative materials?
No.
All right. Is OHSV authorized under law to fine or penalize individual employees?
No.
Only employers, correct?
Correct.
And as a result of that, I believe you explained that your primary role of investigation is to look at what the employer did in terms of creating a potentially hazardous situation.
What they could do to prevent it or what they did to create it, yes.
Great, thank you. So even if as part of your investigation you found concerning conduct by an individual employee, you couldn't issue that person a fine, correct?
Not individually, no.
Great. And this is not a criminal investigation that you're conducting, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so you mentioned you did not review the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office report. Did you conduct a forensic download of any of the individuals' phones involved in this incident?
No.
Did you review the over 100 behind-the-scenes videos that were produced by production outfitters?
No, those were not available to us.
All right. Did you review any footage from the filming of the Rust movie?
Only a small clip that was put into public media.
Was that the clip, just kind of a few-second clip of Mr. Baldwin manipulating the firearm out of his bandolier?
Correct.
So all of the other videos that were filmed as part of the movie, you did not look at any of those, correct?
Correct.
All right. Did you hire any sort of firearms expert to review the revolver or ammunition?
We did not.
All right. Did you hire or consult with an expert in armor, like film armoring?
No, we did not.
All right. Did you review any of the fingerprint analysis from the FBI?
No.
Did you review any of the DNA analysis from the FBI?
No.
Did you review any of the ballistic chemistry analysis from the FBI?
No.
Are you aware that Ms. Gutierrez worked in her role as an armorer for 10 of the 12 filming days?
As far as we're aware, it was only permitted 8 days as an armorer.
So you would be surprised to hear that she actually was afforded 10 armorer days out of the 12 filming days.
It would be news?
Yes. Okay. Great. Are you aware that Ms. Pickle testified at trial that if Ms. Gutierrez had asked for more than those 10 days, she may have granted them if they were justified?
I'm not aware that she testified that.
All right. Are you aware that on the morning of October 21st, 2021, Ms. Gutierrez had approximately 3 hours of time in which she could have inspected ammunition or done a safety check of the revolver involved in this incident?
No.
Are you aware that it's been testified here in the court that Ms. Zachary was Ms. Gutierrez's supervisor when she was performing props, but that the roles were actually reversed, that Ms. Gutierrez provided instruction to Ms. Zachary with regard to the armorer duties?
Yes, with some interplay in that they're not quite peers.
Great. And do you agree that Ms. Gutierrez in her role as armorer contributed to some of the issues that you identified in your report?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. Do you agree that Ms. Gutierrez in her role as armorer contributed to some of the findings that you issued in your report?
No, I'm not sure I could necessarily agree.
Okay. Give me just a minute. If you were to return to page 4 of your report.
Sure.
On paragraph 13,
okay.
The last sentence, unless a round is removed from a storage box or firearm and inspected, it cannot be verified as a dummy round. Do you believe that that is the function of an armorer, to perform this inspection that you've indicated on this report?
I believe that would be one of their many functions, yes.
Right. So if she failed to do that, then would she have contributed in this regard?
OSHA's opinion is that management has to enable the work to be done in the first place. So if she didn't do that, our question would be, why wasn't someone ensuring that she would do that? And thus we would turn back to management.
Okay, sure. And that gets back to the whole fact that you're looking at the employer primarily as the basis of your investigation, correct?
Correct.
All right. Do you agree that if Ms. Gutierrez loaded live ammunition into a firearm and then passed it off as a cold gun, that would be a workplace hazard?
Certainly.
All right. And then lastly, are you aware, I believe you conducted an interview with Ms. Gutierrez, correct?
Correct.
And in that interview, she indicated to you that she asked 2 producers for additional training time, correct? Do you recall that?
I don't recall it off the top of my head.
Okay. All right. Nothing further.
Redirect.
But that little hypothetical that Mr. Lewis just said, if Ms. Gutierrez had passed off the loaded gun as cold, would that be a workplace hazard? What if Rust had not allowed the armor sufficient time to inspect that gun and rushed her and instructed her specifically of what they wanted her to do? Whose fault would it be then?
Come in. Come in.
There we go.
I think I need to rephrase my question. So if in what Mr. Lewis had stated, if there was a gun passed off as cold, whose fault would it be, or whose responsibility would it be to ensure that the armor had sufficient time and resources to make that gun safe?
It's always the responsibility of management to supervise effectively and quality control effectively. If an employee is conducting a safety-related task, they pass it off as safe, and supervision does nothing with that, and they allow it to be implemented. Supervision's responsibility to double-check that.
And was it also Rust's responsibility to ensure that the employee had to take those? I guess, did your investigation reveal that Ms. Gutierrez had specifically requested more time to do those safety checks?
She had expressed on more than one occasion that she did not have sufficient time.
And Rust's response, was there any fault in Rust's response to Ms. Gutierrez's concerns and requests?
In one scenario, Gabrielle Pickle responded that to the point that there are no more armor days out of the 8 left. She had responded that then no more training days are to occur. So their response has been to just, okay, we'll cut it then.
Cut off the firearm training days.
Right.
And did you actually receive a copy of the Santa Fe Sheriff's report after this report of yours came out?
Our office received a copy of the report, yes.
And had you guys previously requested that many times from them?
We had previously requested whatever documents they'd be willing to share or assist with.
And is it necessary to review fingerprints to determine whether Rust Management demonstrated an indifference to hazards and violation of their own standards? Do you have to look at fingerprints to do that?
No, not at all.
Do you have to look at DNA to do that?
No.
Or any firearms expert?
Not to determine their safety conduct and so forth, no.
Okay. And were there any other communications that you reviewed between Ms. Gutierrez and Gabrielle Pickle that demonstrated or supported your findings that Rust was at fault in this and not Ms. Gutierrez individually?
Objection.
I'll rephrase the question, Your Honor.
We're going to strike that question. Go ahead. Make another one.
Are there... You said that you can, is it true that you can actually find fault with specific individuals' conduct?
May I ask you to clarify?
Yeah, can you find fault with, when your investigation, you're looking at specific individuals, and can you say that individual was wrong for doing this?
Objection.
Well,
oh boy.
So I won't ask it again. Were there any other communications that you observed between Gabrielle Pickle and Ms. Gutierrez that was evidence of Rust not providing Ms. Gutierrez with the necessary resources that she needed?
Off the top of my head, there was a text conversation and then a separate email.
stay.
He hasn't talked about what it was. Okay, without stating what the text conversation is, can you please continue your answer?
Yes, and a separate email conversation.
Okay, so you reviewed actual texts and emails between Gabrielle Pickle and Ms. Gutierrez?
We reviewed screenshots of their texts and emails, yes.
Okay. And the relevance of, without saying what's in it, the relevance of that informed which findings in your report?
Yes.
Which ones?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, the conversations you reviewed between Gabrielle Pickle and Ms. Gutierrez, what did those pertain to in terms of your findings? Which findings did that?
Apologies. Yes, so I would have to review the text versus the email conversations to remember which one is which. One is regarding the notification regarding that they have used all 8 of their armor days and the no further training then, because that would require more days. And then the other conversation, I believe, was regarding firearms being left unattended or something of that nature.
Okay. And what was your finding, and if you need to refresh your memory by looking at your report, that's fine, but what was your finding with regard to firearms being left unattended?
Objection.
Oh, my Lanta with these fucking sidebars. I want to know who this lady is. This guy's new, too. With the sunglasses. What's his deal? He was there yesterday. This is Borophyll. And I don't care about it. Squad.
Chlorophyll? More like borophyll. Oh, that was the grossest thing I've ever heard in my life. Let's go.
That's Bowles' wife? I didn't know that.
So you can answer the question, Mr. Montoya. It was the finding in your report pertaining to firearms being left unattended.
Sure. May I refresh my memory?
Yes, please.
If I had to refresh my memory up there, I would just pretend to read and make up my answer.
Okay. Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
What was that finding?
So our conclusions from that were in that conversation they expressed that the production team, meaning Gabrielle Pickle and her peers, had received reports that firearms were being left unattended, and Ms. Gutierrez-Reed's response to that.
And I want you to tell me what her response was. I want to talk about your finding based on her response.
The finding was that an employee expressed that this was a very serious safety-related job and that they needed time to conduct that effectively.
Okay. And that was your finding was that what? That Russ?
We consider that heightened awareness. An employee is informing management that there is a safety concern or that they have an issue with something, and it is then on management to then take that concern and do something about it. In this scenario, it resulted in no response.
Okay, thank you.
All right, this witness is excused. Thank you. Next witness.
Who's next? Who's next? Who's coming on? Get out of there, guy. Go. Oh, they gotta see who's there.
This place calls Robert Jenway.
Robert who? I hate the... They better ask this guy what his name was. Robert something? Bobby? Bobby De Niro? Robert? Another Baldo? Will Baldo be questioning Baldo? It's a bald convention in this bitch.
Do you swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Have a seat talking to the microphone.
Mr. Jenway, can you please...
Jenway?
Just tell the jury how you were employed.
Can we get his spelling?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, she didn't get the name. Can you please state and spell your name for the jury?
Robert Genoway. That's ROBERT GENOWAY.
Mr. Jenway, how are you employed?
I am the bureau chief for the Environment Department's Occupational Health and Safety Bureau, also known as New Mexico OSHA.
What? Another OSHA?
What do you do as the bureau chief?
I oversee all of the OSHA operations for the state, including overseeing our compliance and enforcement program.
Are you, in the terms of hierarchy, is there anybody above you?
Not within the OSHA Bureau. I report to a division director who reports to our Deputy Cabinet Secretary.
And do you supervise, we just heard from Mr. Montoya, do you supervise Mr. Montoya?
Not directly, but I am in the chain of command over Mr. Montoya.
And how did you review Mr. Montoya's report in this case?
Yes, I did.
And can you explain the process of how that review happens once the report is finalized? What happens with it?
Well, I work with the inspector throughout the course of an investigation, once an investigation is assigned. And once a draft report is produced by the inspector, then it will go through various levels of management review. And for this type of a case, for a fatality investigation, I would normally review the entire case file, including a narrative report and other portions of the case file to ensure that if we're issuing citations that
you got to be kidding me with this shit. This guy and the other guy, they have when the OSHA guys have a party, they go to someone's house and they check and make sure that the fucking foundation is good and that the walls are level, etc. This is the most boring shit I've ever heard of. Get these guys out of here.
They meet with certain requirements of legal sufficiency.
So you reviewed the entire case file. What is in that case file?
The case file will contain documentation obtained from an employer. Also may contain documentation from other sources, medical investigator reports, any type of police reports that are available at the time, photographs, audio recordings, interviews of employees and other witnesses. And then the documents that are produced by our bureau, including an inspection report and narrative.
And when you review that and review the report, in this case, did you review Mr. Montoya's report pertaining to the fatality at the Rust production site on October 21st, 2021?
Yes.
And did you concur with that report?
Yes.
Did you make any changes to that report?
I'm sure that any report will go through minor editorial changes, again, to ensure that the content meets with legal sufficiency prior to issuance of a citation. So yes, I'm sure there were some minor changes that were made during the review process.
And with respect to OSHA's role in this, what exactly is it that your bureau is investigating and looking for?
Our primary purpose is to determine whether any violations of OSHA statute and regulations caused or contributed to the accident that's being investigated.
And ultimately, whose determination was it whether or not to cite Rust Productions with any violations?
It was mine.
What types of standards do you hold them to?
Well, we would, of course, look for violations of any OSHA standards that apply to the work site that's being inspected. There's a whole range of standards that apply, but we also, in addition to standards, most of which are incorporated at the state level from federal OSHA standards, but the Act itself, our governing statute, also includes general language requiring employers to provide a safe workplace.
Is there any OSHA standards specific to firearm safety on a movie set?
No.
Then do you have to look at industry standards on that?
What we look at is whether or not the hazard associated with firearms is recognized either within the industry or specifically by the employer at the work site.
Oh my God, you guys don't know how long I was waiting to find this fucking sound effect. Here it is.
determine whether that employer should have or could have known about a hazardous condition and taken actions to correct that condition.
And what types of, were you provided any, or did you review any industry standards pertaining to the hazard of a firearm on a movie set in this case?
Yes, in particular, we looked at safety bulletins that are produced by jointly by the industry and collective bargaining bodies that contributed to that to those bulletins as well.
Do you believe that the investigation that took place in this case was thorough?
Yes.
Why do you believe that?
Well, I've overseen the work of Mr. Montoya for several years leading up to this investigation. I know his work to be thorough, and in reviewing the report, I found that our investigator went to great lengths to collect as much evidence as possible prior to producing the report.
And do you happen to recall how many...
Bro, imagine calling this guy right before you take lunch with the fucking jury. If they're not passed out right now...
interviews were done in this case by you or by OSHA?
I don't recall, no.
Okay. Did you find any fault in the way the investigation was done by Mr. Montoya?
No.
Bueller?
Yeah, my understanding is that OSHA has about 6 months
Bueller?
to complete its investigation. And then
Bueller?
in this case,
Bueller?
Santa Fe Sheriff's Department hadn't provided your bureau with a copy of their report. Is that right?
That's my recollection, yes.
That report wasn't provided until after the report was issued?
I believe that's correct, yes.
So how does that, I guess, do you believe that reviewing the Santa Fe Sheriff's report is necessary to come to the findings that your office came to?
No.
Why?
Because we're looking at an employer's responsibilities specifically under the OSHA Act, which is separate from criminal law enforcement.
Right. And what are the specific, are you looking for any violations of safety rules that the employer engaged in?
Yes.
So who is it that decided to issue the citation in this case?
I did.
And what was the amount of the fine that was levied against Rust Production?
The initial proposed penalty was 130-some thousand. I don't recall the exact amount, but it was 130-some thousand $130,000.
Okay. And how is that amount chosen?
It's based on the statutory maximum provided in the OSHA Act.
So was Rust levied the statutory maximum fine provided in the OSHA Act for its violations of workplace safety?
Yes.
No further questions.
Before this guy leaves, he's going to check the wheels on the chair that he's sitting in, make sure that's no one can fall off the chair. He's going to check
Mr. Genoway, good morning.
that every desk is level.
I suppose let's just cut to the chase here.
Yeah.
You're not conducting a criminal investigation at OSHA, are you?
No.
So the things that you're looking for the purposes of your investigation may not be the same things that law enforcement may be looking for as part of their investigation, correct?
I believe that to be the case.
Great. You said, I know you indicated you reviewed several interviews and documentation and Mr. Montoya's report. As part of that, did you form an opinion as to whether Ms. Gutierrez's actions as an armorer contributed to the breakdowns that occurred on the Rust set?
No.
Do you recall giving a recorded statement during a pretrial interview in this case?
I don't recall being interviewed prior to trial.
You don't recall giving a Zoom interview in this case on February 5th, 2004?
I'm sorry, did you repeat the date?
2004?
I'm sorry, 2024. February 5th, 2024.
No, I don't recall that.
February?
Okay.
A month
you
ago?
Have no recollection
a
of
month?
participating in a Zoom interview with the counsel for the state and Scott Elliott, an investigator for Hannah Gutierrez?
No.
All right, yeah.
Does he have the wrong witness? What the hell is going on?
Mr. Genoway, would it refresh your memory if I showed you a transcript of that interview?
It might help.
May I approach?
Bro, this guy doesn't remember from... You know why he doesn't remember it? Because he was in the room. He was in the room on his computer looking at the ceiling, and he was like, that's a fucking violation. He was looking at the window.
The date of the I don't know if this will help you, but the correct date of the interview is November 7th, 2023.
Doesn't matter. He doesn't remember.
I don't recall ever doing an interview.
Okay. May I approach?
This is Bizarro City. I don't remember. My chair wasn't level, and it was bothering me, and that's all I could think of.
Sounds like responses I would have provided, but I have to say honestly that
I don't remember. I was looking at the glare on the computer, and it was an OSHA violation. My eyeballs were hurting. It was an OSHA violation. I don't remember. The letters on my keyboard were not a sufficient size.
Part of this interview, and then I'm going to ask you some questions.
This fucking guy, man, what the fuck?
May I approach?
Don't approach him. You'll fall asleep. He'll put the trance on you. Bro, what? This man, he doesn't remember? This microphone is not regulation height.
Of our transcript and of yours.
I can't speak into this microphone. It's not regulation to me. This microphone could hit me in the throat muscle and I will pass out.
Are you asking me to read? I'm just asking you to read this right now, and then I'll ask you some questions.
Okay.
So just read through.
I can't read this. This laptop is not OSHA approved.
Okay. Oh, yes.
It's a
Sorry. To
MacBook.
Thank you.
We only approve Microsoft. Sir, your tie is not the correct length. Your tie is too long. I need you to change your tie. It's not OSHA. What the fuck, man? Yeah, Karen, you've missed some riveting testimony. This is the most boring man in the history of boring.
Okay. Yes.
Guys, the day is going to be over, and everyone's going to be leaving the courtroom, and it's going to be like the lights, it's going to be like dark out, and everyone's going to be like, what is this fucking guy doing? And he's going to be outside measuring the parking lot, and he's going to be making sure that the lines are long enough for the cars.
Mr. Genoway, do you agree with me that during this interview you agreed that Ms. Gutierrez, her actions contributed to the breakdown that occurred on this set?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about the investigatory materials that you reviewed. You already indicated you do not have a copy of the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office report, correct?
I'm not sure whether we obtained one after issuing our citations.
And to be clear, I'm talking about...
Good point, Kelly Bowbelly. They're both going to be out there. The last witness and this fucking guy are both going to be out there, and then they're going to be arguing that each one's tape measure is better so that they'll be able to tell which one has the correct length of the parking lot line.
As OS or OHSB conducted its investigation and issued its findings, you did not have the benefit of the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office investigatory report to assist you with that, correct?
Correct.
All right. And did you have the benefit of reviewing any behind-the-scenes videos that were filmed on the set of Rust?
Not that I can recall.
Do you recall if you reviewed any footage from the filming of the Rust movie cameras?
No.
Did you
Oh, they got a guest who has fucking an OSHA amnesia expert.
engage the assistance of any expert armorers for your purposes of your investigation?
We didn't engage your contract. We had some brief discussions with potential experts, but we never actually engaged those experts.
You never relied on any of their opinions to inform your investigation?
No.
Okay. I know that you were asked some questions about determining fines against employers. Is it fair to say that OSHA's purview is not to assess fines against individual employees?
That's correct.
So is it also fair to say then that even if you found that there had been some concerning conduct by an employee, you wouldn't have fined that employee, correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Nothing further.
Please let this man. No, let him go home. No.
But would you have said in your report that a specific employee failed to do something if that's what you determined?
In most cases, no.
Now,
Ma'am, your yellow jacket is not the correct color for this courtroom. My eyeballs hurt, ma'am. I'm going to be giving you a fine as we leave the courtroom.
did Rust afford, in this case, the armor with sufficient time to thoroughly inventory the ammunition?
Objection.
Oh, she doesn't know why. This guy, look at this poor guy. He didn't do anything wrong. He's just boring, and I just can't take it. Give this guy some UCC coffee or some cocaine. I know someone who can get him some. Oh, I forgot to do shots because I'm passing out. Let's see this guy. Look at him. He's daydreaming of his level. I gotta go at the dogs. I'll be right back.
I was going to ask you with respect to the Bureau's finding. Did the Bureau, the OSHB Bureau, find that Rust failed to afford the armor with time to thoroughly inventory the ammunition?
I don't know if I recall that specifically. What I do recall is that our investigation determined that, from my recollection, more in general, that sufficient time for armor.
Would it refresh your memory to look at the report?
Yes.
Page 7. Said he didn't remember.
I'm going to object to that.
The witness said he didn't remember. I'm going to refresh his memory. He said it would help him.
This guy's still fucking here. I just went to drive into the ocean and Shannon stopped me.
Do you remember the exact wording of the specific finding in the report pertaining to affording the armor time on inventory of ammunition?
No.
Would it refresh your memory to look at the report?
Yes.
No, nothing refreshes
Page
this
7.
man's
You want
memory.
me to approach? Yes.
This guy's memory. What memory?
Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Did OSHB find that Rust failed to afford the armor time to thoroughly inventory the ammunition?
Yes.
Did Rust find that, did OSHB find that Rust did not provide the armor with the authority to determine if additional training was required in violation of Rust safety procedures?
I recall that the investigation found that sufficient time wasn't provided by Rust.
It was not provided, is that what you said?
Sufficient time was not provided by Rust.
Okay. So, and were there also findings by OSHB that despite efforts by employees that Rust ignored some of the safety concerns?
Objection.
Oh my freaking Lanta. This is brutal. Hannah's looking at the clock. Hannah's looking at the clock from 3rd grade. She wants to know. She can't take it. This guy, look at him. He's looking at the lights. They're too bright. I can see the lights are too bright in this building, and that's all I can think about. I'm sorry. I don't remember my testimony. Please tell me what wattage these lights are. Judge Harlow, you are in contempt of OSHA. Lily Flores with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Lily Flores. Sorry the bot isn't working today, folks. Thank you so much, Lily. You are awesome. Thank you. Get this man out of there, please.
What was your understanding of the Rust findings with respect to whether safety concerns were that were brought to Rust's attention were addressed correctly?
Right. Our investigation found that Rust failed to adequately review safety oversights on the set. And,
Joanne's helping me stay awake here. Gifted a membership to Just Mimi. Thank you so much, Joanne. You rock. And Mr. Joanne, Mr. Jedi Planned Parenthood.
So that they could take necessary action to prevent recurrence.
So when you were asked on cross about a statement you gave in some pretrial interview about Ms. Gutierrez contributing to a breakdown on the set, why is it that you believe that's possible?
Well, what we would look for in an investigation is whether acts on the part of employees are preventable on the part of an employer. That's part of a determination of what we call the employer knowledge aspect of a violation. So that's why we would look at that type of information.
Okay, and in this case, did you determine whether the breakdowns from Gutierrez were due to any act of the employer?
Yes, we determined that those breakdowns
Gorilla Grip Pussy Pal
were caused by failures of the employer to adequately oversee safety.
Thank you.
Go home, sir.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn
All right, sir, you're excused. Thank you.
Sir, you're excused.
Maybe we approach.
Oh, they're going to break for lunch because the fucking jury's asleep. Oh, KTG with a $10 Cash App. Thank you so much. You've been so supportive. It's for Kill Me Now. Look at this guy. What are you smiling at, you dumb idiot? What are you smiling at? Get out of there. Go measure something. Go put something on a scale. Oh, Debbie Schultz with a $20 super chat. $1 for every time this jabroni has forgotten what he said. Thank you so much, Debbie. And there goes my counter again. Son of a bitch. Thank you so much, Debbie. You are so awesome. I'm telling you, they're going to break for lunch because this jabroni put everyone to fucking asleep. The whole... What's going on? What's happening? Maybe not. What are they doing? What's going on? Maybe they wanted to go to lunch. He wouldn't let them.
Next witness.
Okay.
Yeah, go get your next witness. Get some cocaine or UCC coffee. I think he wanted to go on lunch and she wouldn't let him. These are the defense witnesses. Get out of here. Is it Daddy? Is it Daddy? Is it her dad? Who's coming on down? Nope. Who's this jabroni? Please don't be boring. Please don't be boring. Please don't be OSHA. If this guy's OSHA, I'm driving to New
Do you swear
Mexico.
affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, have a seat. Talk into the microphone.
Good morning, sir. Can you please state your name again for the jury?
Scott Elliott.
Mr.
Okay.
Elliott, what do you do for a living currently?
I'm currently a private investigator.
Ooh.
And Mr. Elliott, prior to becoming a private investigator, did you have a career in law enforcement?
Stop picking your nose.
Can you tell the jury what your career was in law enforcement, how many years?
Military and civilian, or just?
Let's start with civilian and we'll work back.
Okay. I was hired by the Albuquerque Police Department, and I attended the academy starting in February of 1993. I retired in 2011. During that time period, I started out field services, normal uniform patrol. I went to the gang unit. Then I became a violent crimes detective in about 1995-96. And in 1998, I became a homicide detective. And I was a homicide detective when I retired in 2011.
So, sir, you spent approximately, it sounds like, 13 years in homicide division?
Part of that was interrupted by post 9/11 deployment, but yes.
Like post 9/11, did you deploy overseas?
I did.
And was that part of your, and we'll get into your military, part of your military duties?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Sir, how many, as part of your homicide portion of your APD employment, approximately how many investigations do you think you worked on in homicide?
As a case agent, 35 or 40. Assisting on homicides, 150, 200.
Wow.
And this is just homicides. You probably had 150, 200. In terms of violent crime or other types of narcotics or any types of, how many investigations do you think you've handled in the course of your police career? Do you even have an estimate?
I don't think so. I became a detective in 1995. Hundreds of cases a year. And then by the time I was in violent crimes, it was slightly reduced, but that was all violent crime short of homicide. So lots of those.
And you also talked about your military service. Can you tell the jury briefly about whether you had law enforcement type experience with the military?
Yes, I was commissioned in 1981 in the infantry. I spent approximately 10 years on active duty, various duties was part of the active duty time, and then I left the service in active duty in 1992 and 1993. Started with the police department. Then I transferred into the reserves. In Albuquerque, there was not an infantry unit anywhere nearby, so I was an engineer officer for a little while, and then I became a secondary specialty of military policeman. And I worked in those functions until I transferred from the Army in 2003 to the Air Force. When I transferred to the Air Force, I took command of what's called a heavy weapons squadron, which was a security forces unit, which is Air Force police. The difference with that unit is that they had weapon systems that are normally found in the Army. Mortars, snipers, grenade launchers, things like that. So my prior Army career folded right into that unit and its mission.
So, sir, you've conducted investigations both civilian and military environments. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, and Your Honor, at this time I tender Mr. Elliott as an expert in quality of investigations, law enforcement investigations.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the first thing you said, Mr. Johnson.
Oh, sure, the quality of law enforcement investigations.
No objection.
The quality of
All right.
law enforcement investigations. Oh boy, get ready for the tea, friends. They're about to talk some dirt about the cops here.
He's an expert, as described.
Mr. Elliott, can you tell the jury specifically what did you do in this particular case? Just an overview scope.
Well, I reviewed all the discovery, all the reports, videos, any documentation, any evidence. That included going in physically looking at the evidence in this case. In addition to that, I interviewed the majority of the state's witnesses in what's called pretrial interviews. I think the only ones I didn't interview were the FBI employees.
Do you recall ballpark how many interviews you conducted in this case, just an approximate?
35, 40 maybe.
And in terms of the reports, did you review voluminous reports in this case as well?
Yes, I did.
And have you, as an expert, also made some conclusions based on your review of the materials, your interviews, and what you've seen in this case?
I did.
Okay. I don't want to hit every point that you might make, but I want to hit some of the major ones. First of all, at the scene, at the initial scene when law enforcement responds, can you tell the jury, do you have any conclusions about the quality of the investigation by the sheriffs at the scene?
Yeah, some of that was reached by my own observations and some of it through interviews of the deputies on the scene. I felt like their response was probably not what it should be. There were hundreds of people on that ranch, but if you narrow it down to who was in the church at the time of the shooting and who may have had involvement with the case, for example, the people that were just outside, there was really about 20 people. The first responding deputies, their job is first preservation of life, and then it is preservation of evidence and identifying witnesses and possible suspects. In this case, it was known very quickly who the shooter was, but it wasn't known who the witnesses were. And those witnesses, once they were identified, they should have been segregated so they couldn't talk among themselves.
Now let me stop you right there. When you initially, as a law enforcement homicide detective or somebody going on scene, you identify the shooter, what in your opinion is one of the first things that you should do?
Well, the first thing you do is put someone with that individual, segregate them from everyone else. You also want to, those individuals, since you are preserving evidence, you also want to secure their cell phones.
Now in this case, in the materials you reviewed, did it appear to you that Mr. Baldwin was segregated?
Not at all.
And along with the conclusion you just stated, did it appear that his cell phone was taken from him?
No, it was not.
Mr. Elliott, did it appear to you that at any time at the scene that day, Mr. Baldwin was segregated?
He was not.
Okay. Next, you talked about identifying key witnesses and preserving evidence. Can you explain that a little more?
Yes. Well, the scene was secured. You don't often have a scene of that small of an environment. It was known immediately that the shooting occurred inside that church structure and that it probably involved a couple of people just outside near that weapons cart. So that was the immediate concern, that area there. And the deputies, one of the early responding deputies did get a pretty good list of who was in the church and gave that to the lieutenant. But those individuals were not segregated from everybody else. They were able to mingle with people who were not on scene, who were in a different part of the ranch. Conversations were taking place. People were talking on cell phones. And it's really unknown who they were talking to.
And what is the danger or what is the concern on the part of an investigator when suspects or witnesses are talking?
Well, a couple things. One, people could be getting their story straight. The other is it causes witnesses to misremember what they did and what they saw. Because in my experience, good, honest citizens try to help. And they'll tell you something that their neighbor told them as if it was something that they saw. And it is just human nature that if you talk about something over and over and over again, eventually there are parts of it that you think that you did, and it was what someone else did. So you want to clean, even if it's very brief and they didn't see very much or they didn't hear very much, you want a clean statement of what their knowledge is.
Okay, and with regard to whether, if that is not done, what can that lead to? What is your conclusion about what can happen if people are not segregated and they're allowed to talk to people?
Well, one, you can delete things off your phone. You can delete photos. It wasn't known at the time if somebody was videotaping what was going on inside on their phone. That's possible. Almost every case you work now, someone has videotaped it with their phone.
Did you also determine, and this is another point, but that someone had left the scene and whether that person had been identified?
As far as I know, they still have not been identified.
Okay. With regard to securing the prop card on that scene, what is your opinion as to whether that was appropriately handled?
No, it should have remained in place. There was an individual, Brian, was told to go get the cart. He went out of sight behind the church, on the other side of the church, and then he moved the cart around towards the lieutenant's marked unit. That should not have been done.
As well, what is your opinion as to or do you have any concerns about how the evidence on top of the prop cart was handled?
Well, Lieutenant Benavides took possession of the firearm with an ungloved hand, and he grabbed it right around the cylinder. So the largest portion of the revolver is how he picked up the revolver, put it into his vehicle, at another occasion pulled it out of his vehicle and put it back on the cart. He did the same thing with the ammo boxes from the cart. So you definitely can't preserve evidence by touching things with your bare hands, but it also...
I don't know, man. I get what he's saying, and he's making the right points, but he's like scoffing. He's like laughing at the investigators. I'm sure they don't... I mean, you'd think if he was former law enforcement, maybe he'd be a little more... I don't know.
Could have damaged anything that was on the boxes or the firearm prior to him handling it.
Now, working our way through this, and you may be aware that there was evidence there were rounds thrown away in the course of your investigation. Do you have any concerns at this point with how the police responded to that? The sheriffs responded to that matter?
Well, it's my understanding that they were notified quite late. I think it was a month later. But I didn't see any attempt to go out and see if they were still in the trash at the ranch.
And is that something in your normal investigation, when you were doing homicide investigations, you want to collect all of the potential evidence?
Well, in this case, there's a couple things. The law enforcement was told almost immediately this was the firearm used. But the projectile can't be matched to a firearm. And I know there were at least 3 .45 long Colt revolvers on that cart that day. So although the casing has been tested to match the firearm that was presented to law enforcement, there's no way to know that projectile positively came from that firearm.
Along with the rounds that were thrown away, did you have any other concerns on the follow-up with regard to identifying the source of that live round or live rounds that appeared on set?
That didn't seem to be followed up on very strongly. It's a little confusing when rounds came onto the set or the scene, the ranch, and who brought them. It seemed that there were a number of times that, at least one occasion, I thought it was more, that Sarah went to PDQ in Albuquerque and brought ammo back. There was the initial ammo provided by PDQ, and then there was some ammo provided by Ms. Gutierrez.
And did you identify any other investigative steps that you think should have been taken to try to further look into the source of the live rounds?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about the white boxes with the JS. That individual has never been interviewed, the producer of the ammunition. So there really was no...
Wait a second. Am I wrong, or didn't the judge say that the witnesses were not supposed to watch this on live stream? They weren't supposed to watch all this? Didn't the judge give admonitions all the time that the witnesses were not supposed to watch this? And this guy just said there's been a lot of talk, or am I wrong on that?
Backtracking of where the ammo came from. You can't say this ammo on the prop cart definitively where it came from. You can't say the ammunition in the prop truck definitively where it came from. There should have been more work done in that area.
Oh, Botrix! Thanks for waking up, you stupid piece of shit robot. Wake up!
You're in a situation like this, as a former homicide detective, when you're trying to trace the root cause of tragic situation that's occurred, is that something that would be important to you, to find out where the live round originated from?
Yes, this case is also a little unusual in the sense that it wasn't really a who done it. It was a why done it and how done it. By that I mean, you don't know anybody there. You go out as an investigator, you're trying to find out what happened. Was there an argument on set? Was somebody angry? Did somebody have a mental break? Is there some underlying relationship that may have been the root cause of the shooting? You don't know. And that's why an investigation is conducted, to find out those things, and it's also to trace how that firearm came to be where it came to be.
Okay, sir, and with regard...
Great point by Next Chapter. Perhaps Botrix was that last witness from OSHA.
To the search of the prop truck that occurred after the 21st, on the 27th, did you have any concerns with the delay in that search warrant?
Oh, absolutely. There were firearms missing from the weapons cart. They had been moved from between the shooting and the arrival of law enforcement, and they were moved into the safe, into the prop truck. That should have been part of an expanding scene. Like I said, you had the church and the area immediately outside of it, but as soon as it became known the prop truck had an involvement with that shooting, the prop truck should have been secured, just like you saw the scene. Crime scene tape, a deputy placed there, nobody allowed in the truck until such time as you can do a search warrant.
In addition, with regard to the search warrant of Seth Kenny's business, PDQ Props, did you have any concerns about the delay of approximately a month in searching that business?
Oh, of course. Of course. A delay of a few days could be an issue, but a month is, you could do anything in a month.
And from your review of records in this case, was it ascertainable that Mr. Kenny was one of the suppliers of ammunition to Rust?
I think it was known almost immediately, both by the people at the scene and Mr. Kenny himself.
With respect to that delay in search warrant, there's some obvious things I think that would be apparent to anybody. But Why is that an issue? What are the primary issues that you want to do to try to secure a home and search it right away? Secure a business, search it right away. What are the reasons?
Well, it's preservation of evidence. If no one can get inside the business, then no one can tamper with anything that's inside. And you hope to get everything as it was as soon as you can, without any type of alteration.
With regard to Mr. Kinney, did you also have any concerns about collection of DNA, fingerprints, things like that?
I did. Those things can be used for elimination or positively identifying someone. In the case of Mr. Kinney, if they had his major case prints and had his DNA, and none of it was found on the boxes of ammunition, then it would eliminate him as somebody possibly being involved.
In your opinion, and your experience as an investigator, would this have been something that you would expect to have been done? That the supplier of ammunition to Rust, that he would also be looked at in that respect?
Yes, considering the environment and the fact that there should not have been live rounds on set.
Now, with regard to Mr. Kinney, did you also determine whether his phone had been seized to be extracted or whether that had been fully extracted?
It was not. His phone was never.
What is your opinion on that potential or that fact that his phone was never taken for extraction?
The contact between Sarah Zachary and he almost immediately after the shooting warranted that.
And are you speaking about the phone call right after the shooting where we heard testimony and there was a text emergency? Is that the time frame you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And are you also aware that there were a number of calls that Seth Kinney, other calls that he was making in contact with Sarah Zachary?
Dozens of calls.
In your opinion, to do a complete investigation, to get the facts out, to get the truth on the table, was that something that you would expect to be done, that they fully investigate Seth Kinney?
Objection.
Objection. Oh, I don't have the sound effects on.
Sir, would you have expected, in your experience as a homicide detective, a full investigation of Mr. Kinney?
Yes, especially considering that Sarah Zachary worked for him.
Did you also have any concerns about the failure to obtain Mr. Baldwin's phone early on and what happened after that?
As I stated before, that would have been an immediate. Every deputy should have known that as soon as he was identified as being the shooter. And then my understanding is that he left the state with it, and that forensic analysis was done in New York. I should correct myself. The extraction was done in New York.
Suffolk County,
and
baby.
Do you have any knowledge of whether all of the contents were obtained off of Mr. Baldwin's phone?
I have no way of knowing that.
We talked about the scene, some search warrants. We talked about phones, fingerprints, DNA. Did you have any other opinions or concerns about the quality of this investigation?
One aspect of it that's still kind of a mystery to me is when the lieutenant arrived on the scene, first two things he asked for was the gun and the armor. I thought that was a little unusual. He didn't seem to be the least concerned of who the shooter was and what that individual's status was. He placed Ms. Gutierrez into his marked unit, which is pretty common, also considering that she had some anxiety issues and so on. But it immediately became clear she was not free to leave. Whenever the lieutenant would leave his vehicle, he'd tell the deputy to keep an eye on her. When Detective Hancock got to the scene, she almost immediately took charge of Hannah, to include going to the bathroom with her. So she clearly was not free to leave. Every other individual on that ranch was free to walk around, talk to anyone, talk on their phone, do anything they wanted to do, except Miss Gutierrez.
Now, you talked about some anxiety and this situation. In your experience, do you have any concerns about interviewing someone in the immediate aftermath of a traumatic situation?
Objection.
Oh, Garrett. You know who this guy looks like? I don't know if everyone's gonna get the reference or just me. This guy looks like Mike Francesa. Mike and the Mad Dog. Mike
Shirley,
Francesa.
in the course of your career in both civilian and military law enforcement, have you encountered situations where people have been interviewed in traumatic situations?
Yes, I have.
And have you personally been involved in that?
I have.
And can you tell the jury, do you have any concerns regarding interviewing an individual right after a traumatic situation?
Yes. It probably would have started with an EMT or a paramedic checking her to see if she was okay, see what her status was health-wise. Whether she was having, hyperventilating or whatever symptoms her anxiety had, to make sure she was okay that way. Because of confessions and the way those things can go, you're extra careful to make sure that someone is not in a state that can later be determined not to be a good mental state, and all your work in that confession or that statement is not admissible. So you try to avoid that if you can.
And you said that you would have that person looked at in those situations by an EMT or a medical?
Yes.
What is the purpose of that again?
Again, it's just to make sure that she's in a state where she can, or the individual's in a state where they can talk to you. You want them to be as accurate as they can also. So if that causes a little bit of a delay before you can interview them, and they're still willing to be interviewed, you may get a more accurate statement from them.
Okay. Thank you. And any other concerns about this investigation that we haven't hit on, Mr. Elliott? You may have stated them all. I just wanted to ask if there was anything else.
I don't think so.
Okay. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-exam.
Wow, I thought they were going to do cross after lunch. Here we go.
Mr. Elliott, isn't it true that you are the defense investigator on this case?
It's true.
How much?
You
How
work
much?
for Mr. Bowles and Ms. Gutierrez, and they are paying you.
That's correct.
And as a person who is employed as the defense investigator, it is your job to aid in her defense. Isn't that true?
That's true.
Now, you seem to take issue with the fact that Lieutenant Benavides touched the firearm with his ungloved hand. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
But you agree with me that unlike a lot of homicides or shootings, this one occurred in the presence of upwards of a dozen people.
That's true.
So there was not going to be any mystery as to who had the gun and who pulled the trigger, correct?
To that aspect, no.
You seem to take issue with the fact that the projectile in this case can't be matched to the firearm, right?
Only in the sense that to confirm that the firearm presented to law enforcement was the actual firearm. It doesn't really change what happened.
But where's the controversy? Do you have some information that the jury hasn't heard, that the gun that was fired by Mr. Baldwin is actually not the gun that was used? I haven't come across that. Have you?
No, I was referring to when the officers arrived at the scene, they didn't know that other than what one person told them.
Okay, but it turned out to be true. There's no controversy. The gun that was used in the shooting is the gun that was in Mr. Baldwin's hand, right?
True.
Okay. And the reason that the projectile can't be matched to the firearm is because the projectile went through 2 people, and it was so heavily damaged because it went through 2 human beings. There wasn't enough marking to match it to the bore of the gun. Isn't that true?
That's true.
Now, in terms of fingerprints and DNA on the ammunition box. Sir, did you watch the video where Ms. Gutierrez actually says to Mr. Benavides, "This is the box I was pulling from"?
Yes, I did.
And that box is taken and put into Mr. Benavides' patrol unit, correct?
The lieutenant placed it in his vehicle, yes.
Right. So where's the controversy in terms of what box she was pulling from?
Part of it was to find where the live ammo originated. That information may have been on the outside of the box. It could have had Seth Kenny's DNA, could have had Seth Kenny's fingerprints, or anyone else where the box came from originally.
But sir, didn't you watch the second interview with Ms. Gutierrez where she actually held up a photograph for Corporal Hancock and said, "This is a picture of our boxes of dummies," and not coincidentally, it matched identically to the box that she identified as the box that she was pulling rounds from that day. You watched that interview, didn't you?
Boom. Roasted. Boom. Roasted.
I'm going to have to pull up a picture of Mike Francesa. No one knows Mike and the Mad Dog? That's just a Northeastern thing? New York? Chris Russo?
Right,
Mike Francesa?
Lunch break.
Lunch break.
Please be back by 1:30. Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court. Thank you.
All rise.
So that is in 1 hour and 10 minutes, folks. 1 hour and 10 minutes. Thank you all so much for being here. I'll set up the second stream. I'll wait. I love their little laptop stands. I've never seen that before. Look at those little stands. We'll be back in 1 hour and 10 minutes. Tornado Artist knows Sports Radio 66 WFAN New York. Copyright claim. All right. Going to be back in 1 hour and 10 minutes. If you missed my premiere, I would love for you to check it out. Comment on it, like it. It's I'll share it now. It's probably my famous.
Hey everybody,
no,
Jesse
shut
Weber
up.
here. Thank you so much.
Nope. It's maybe my favorite video I've ever made, and I was an idiot and set it up during. Actually, I wonder if I could. No, I can't portal this into it. I set it up right before this trial when everyone's watching this. So if you get a chance on lunch break, check it out. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, mods, as always. And we will be back in 1 hour and 10 minutes to watch the rest of Cross. Thank you so much, everybody.